We're probably live. No, you're gonna make me live if I do that. You will. You totally will. You're gonna do it. Oh, it's sun. Oh, naturally. Hey guys, how's it going?
Hello.
Welcome. It's Don't Worry Wednesday, the Friday edition, also known as Don't Flip Out Friday, Don't Freak Out Friday, don't insert some kind of F word, but not that one. Not the one you were thinking of.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's been a long day. But we'll get into that later. Anyway, welcome. It's Don't Worry Wednesday. This is a show where we handle any challenges, issues you might be having. I asked Kyle if he wanted to host this. He's thinking, man, I should have. I'd have done a way better job than this novice amateur guy over here. Oh, detective, it's Saturday there. Well, it's don't slap yourself Saturday in the face. Okay. Don't not smile Saturday. Yes.
There you go.
Good. Jesse. Great. Wow. All right. So this is going to be this kind of a stream tonight. Welcome, you guys. So yeah, we if you have any challenges or issues you are facing, you can feel free to post it in the chat. I am not a professional therapist. Kyle pretty much is, even though he doesn't have the degree for it.
Yeah, no.
No, we are not professional therapists or counselors or policemen or lawyers or doctors or anything like that. But we just want to pull up alongside you as a friend and offer some perspective, maybe some advice and love and encouragement along your journey. And we try and have a little bit of fun too while we're doing it. So our producer is Jesse. He's awesome. Our chat room hostess is Princess. I am Joe, and with me today is the bro man himself, Kyle. Everybody give him a couple rounds of applesauce. He was here last time, and he was amazing, and he's here again today, and he's going to be even more amazing. He's more amazing looking.
Yeah, different shirt.
Yeah. Well, you got the memo. It's Black T-shirt day.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
Yes. So, anyway, so we're here, and it's awesome. And welcome to all of you. It's great to see you all. And how are you doing today, Kyle?
You know, I am fantastic. It is super hot today, so I hung out in my cold basement. Which I say cold as it's only 70 degrees down here.
Oh, wow.
Which is nice.
That's cold compared to outside.
Because, yes, it was 90s outside, so
it's crazy. 90s and steamy. It's like a steam bath out there.
Yeah. But, you know, and we just got some awesome news from Jesse on our way here today, and that is our website's back up, at least temporarily. So that's cool.
Yes.
So we'll actually be able to get to some of these questions that have been sitting around a while, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And so feel free to check it out. It may go back down. It's kind of temporarily where it is now. So, but it's cool. So you can head back, you can head over there, check stuff out, hang out.
Yep. But only for a limited time, like Kyle was saying. So quick.
Yes.
Go there quick. It's going to be up for the stream, and then probably all bets are off.
Yeah.
because there's still some stuff getting worked out. So, but it's up for now, and we're super excited for that. Poor Jesse, he can't even send himself a support ticket. So anybody out there feels like starting a support ticket, Jesse was feeling left out. So, and he's going to yell at me in my earphone probably. Yes. So anyway, so Princess says she has one. If we would like, she can get us started off. Princess, we always love handling any challenges you might be having. We also had a thought. What we might do is we have some pretty old ones in our queue here, and we were thinking we might just handle them and then maybe figure out how to send these people a notification that we handled it on this stream, and maybe give them a link or something to it. Yeah, but if there's other stuff going on for all you guys, we will handle yours first. So Princess, if you have something to talk about, feel free to post it, and Kyle will impart his amazing, illustrious wisdom.
I'll throw some words out there.
Yes, and they will be very wise and smart and witty and amazing. So yeah. So at any rate, all right. While Princess is gearing up there, tell you what we can do is promote. Oh, here it is. Perfect. Princess. Okay. Princess, is that all of it, or is there more coming? I guess that's that question.
I guess we'll find out.
I have gotten caught in that trap before where I've read through the thing and then it's like not all of it. Apparently, Anna is the greatest living organism. There's an argument going on between Anna and Detective Spoopy Egg on who the greatest living organism is. I'm pretty sure it's Jesse, because he puts up with.
Well,
Cat.
Okay, so Rack Attack is voting for Anna as well here. So.
Oh.
I mean, it sounds like we've got a clear winner right now.
It must be Anna.
It's got to be.
Yeah.
We could take a poll. I don't know if we can do a poll.
A poll? Like run it up the flagpole?
Everybody just vote if you're in the chat.
All right. Okay. All right. Princess got to the end. Okay, good. So Princess says on here, so many people are in relationships around me. Like my mom just got engaged to her longtime boyfriend, Don. But I guess I don't understand relationships of the romantic nature. I want to know how to also understand that and how to deal with the little tension of having someone like that in my life since my mom's divorce when I was younger. So it sounds like the whole romantic relationships is a bit of a mystery, and especially now this is her mom who's engaged to her boyfriend. So that is a very good question, Princess, and I really appreciate you posting. So Kyle, do you wanna start us off? Do you have some
sure
something on the tip of your tongue? You look like you do. So
I'm trying to trick my tongue into having words.
Oh, good.
How's that?
It's good.
No.
It's working. You're doing a great job.
No. So yeah, I think it's always weird when our parents get in relationships. I've been through that.
Mm.
My mom got divorced when I was fairly young, and then there was a couple boyfriends in there and some different things, and yeah, it was always strange, and part of that's just because it's our parents, just kind of weird to see them that way.
Mm.
um, but I think like a lot of things, it just takes time to just sort of get used to that and just experience it. Some people are super eager to call their new parent dad or mom already 5 minutes into the relationship, and other people, they want to wait 10, 15 years or never will they feel comfortable with that. And so, but that's all of that is okay. It doesn't really matter where you're at. What's important is that we sort of maintain the relationships we have, and then respect their decision to have a relationship with other people, and try and respect that relationship by being involved with it, to whatever capacity they want us to be involved. And one thing, you say here you don't understand relationships of the romantic nature, and I think that's not perceived as normal, but it is normal. There are a lot of people who are not supposed to be in that sort of romantic relationships. And if that's the kind of person you are, then that's okay. And the other thing is, I don't think until you're in one that it's really, in a relationship with the right person, that you fully kind of understand what that's all about. Where you're truly in a relationship with somebody to forever promise to help someone be better, and to help and they're going to help you be better, and you're both there to serve each other always. These kinds of relationships are rare, and I think until you experience them, it's kind of hard to understand. Don't feel awkward or bad for not understanding it. The best thing you can do is just sort of accept them where they're at with their relationship, and just try and be supportive of both of them. It's a new adventure for them, as well as you. So just make it the best you can. So that's about all I got on that one for now.
Well,
until someone says some awesome things and with everything I should have said.
Well, I don't, I really, wanted you to speak on that because you actually have experience in that. I don't have experience in any of that. My parents never got divorced, so I never got to experience the my mom or my dad or both of them finding another relationship and getting having it get serious and then engaged and all that kind of stuff. I never got to watch that happen, so I can only imagine the kind of feelings that must be going on. Princess expands. I do my best to support them, though sometimes Don avoids doing activities with us. And that makes sense. I mean, there are times, depending on somebody's personality, like sometimes they just don't really know if they're going to say or do the right thing. And so they just kind of tend to avoid stuff that's going on just because they might feel awkward. They don't want to do the wrong thing, so they figure, hey, if I just don't get involved, then I won't do the wrong thing, at least. And sometimes that's more uncomfortable, interestingly enough. But I know I'm generally an introverted person most of the time, and I have a really hard time socially in like crowds, and you know, it's a really weird thing. I'm a lot better one-on-one with people
Mhm.
and getting into a conversation one-on-one, but when I'm like mingling with a whole bunch of people, I generally tend to not do things. And another thing also is I feel really self-conscious around young kids, because I just don't want to do something that will upset their parents. And, I generally think I'd be okay, but you never know. So, there's all kinds of parents out there. There's all kinds of um, kids out there, and some kids get away with behavior that I wouldn't let my kids get away with, and some kids are always on their best behavior. And I'm like, man, why can't my kids be more like those kids? Like, but it's uh it's always an interesting thing. So I can totally understand why he might feel awkward in those situations. So, but what Kyle was saying was really important, and it's that just do your best to support him. And I think do your best to find the good, and do your best to just love them. Just open your heart to loving them. And I think a lot of good things flow from that. I find in those moments when I'm uncomfortable around, whether it's mingling with a crowd or with kids, if I just remind myself to open my heart and love them, everything seems to flow so much more smoothly. If I just remind myself, it's not about doing the right thing or the wrong thing. It's about what's in your heart. And I can imagine this could be difficult. I see Joe Bohan is here, and he's got some good stuff to say too. Romantic relationships are tough, but I think it's important to realize the difficulty that we all have in every relationship. Any meaningful relationship will result in you being hurt one way or another. And that's what makes relationships good and worthwhile, because we grow through those difficulties. That's very wise. It is tough. I've been married now for almost 12 years, and I'm still trying to figure out romantic relationships. And I've been, married for that long. And I'm still figuring out that, like Ryan was or like Kyle was talking about, marriage is one of those things where you give yourself as a gift to another person. Like, you kind of put aside all of your own wants and focus on serving this other person. And I'm still figuring that out. It's, I'm like, oh man, I totally could have done that better today. I totally could have done that better yesterday. And it's always a learning experience. But yes, Ryan looks very different today, Vimini. He's got short brown hair now, but he kind of, it looks kind of similar.
We both have glasses.
Both have glasses. Both have that Seawald look. Yeah. Akil says, my parents have been married over 20 years. You still learn new things even after all that time. Yep.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So
relationships naturally evolve over time, and I don't think any of us have it even 50% figured out most of the time. We're all trying to catch up. So having feeling like you don't have it all figured out is a good thing. You know, it kind of just gives you an opportunity to learn something else.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, that's a really interesting thing, because a lot of times, if I always feel self-conscious if I don't know how to do stuff, but it's that very condition that leads to growth and learning. And, it's an amazing thing, because when you can learn to accept the fact that you don't know something, rather than being like, oh my gosh, I don't know about this, I'm going to get found out that I'm a fraud, or that I'm going to look stupid, or whatever. And you change that to, hey, I don't know anything about this, I'm willing to learn. You can approach it with a way better attitude and a way better mind frame, where you're kind of welcoming the fact of being a noob, in a sense. But it's okay, because everybody's got to start somewhere.
well, the nice thing too is about being somewhat new is if you don't have any bad habits yet,
Yeah.
you can develop good habits from the beginning as well. So
Mm-hmm. That's right. You can practice. And as my martial arts instructor says, practice makes, and everybody in the class says, perfect. And he says, wrong. Practice does not make perfect. Practice makes permanent. So if you're doing it wrong, you will make it permanently wrong.
yes.
Practice makes progress. I like that too.
Yeah, I had I experienced that going through school in band. I played clarinet, and I practiced quite a bit, but there were certain things that I didn't realize I was doing wrong for years and years. And then eventually it was pointed out, and it got to the point where I physically could not figure out how to change some of those habits. They were just there. No matter what I did, it came back in like 3 seconds. Sometimes.
It just find its way back.
Yeah. So definitely, that's practice does make permanent.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, at any rate, I don't know how much more I have to say about this topic, Princess. I really appreciate you posting and kind of getting us started.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, relationships are weird, and man.
Yeah.
It can be tough navigating those waters. And then not only that, but everybody kind of grows and changes and everything like that. So another person that you're dealing with, it's kind of a moving target. Once you think you got them figured out, all of a sudden they change.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, whoa, what happened? I got a whole new set of rules to figure out. Wait, and then you say something, you're like, you were mad about that?
Yes.
It's weird. But
So
that's why there's grace.
yeah.
So what are you gonna say, Kyle? I totally interrupted you.
No, I mean, no, that's great. So where do we go next? Here.
Good question. We do have Akil is here, and Akil was posting something at the end of the last stream. I was gone, and then I came back on. Excuse me, and I was able to copy and paste it onto our little sheet here. So Akil, I got your stuff from the last stream. Niet.
Okay, never mind.
I mean, Akil didn't have anything that I can think of. Akil, I love you, man. Oh, Princess, you're leaving?
Okay, well, have a good weekend.
Princess is leaving us. Oh, I'm so sad. But it's okay. Know that we love you. Boy, Princess. So, all right. Well, then, so Akil says no. So we won't do that one. The one that doesn't really exist.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know either. I'm confusing myself. And then, so if anybody has anything, feel free to post it. And what we're going to do is we'll start with some of these old ones, and we'll just start handling them. What do you guys think? You think that's a good idea? We'll take a poll from the audience, and we'll see what they say. Jesse says ye. Or maybe it's yee.
Well, is there option 4?
What was option 4? Let's see.
Okay, go handle your family there, Princess.
Yes. No, appreciate your help, Princess. Yeah. Thank you.
Fantastic.
And, yep. Tell all of your family that Kyle and Joe say hello. And that we love them too. So, option 36. Hey, that was the one, Spoopy. So we're going to start with angels, and it's about addiction. No, isn't that a link? Am I supposed to be able to go to it? There we go. Okay. So this was posted way back in February. And we haven't seen Angel in a while. So we'll just tackle it, and then we'll see if we can get a notification or something to say it was on here. But anyway, so anyone who wants to follow along, you can go to bss.studio, and here's the link. Boom! Look at that right there.
Nice.
Man, oh man, it feels good to be able to do that again. What's that? And it works?
It even works.
It even works. Yes. So, all right. So everybody's had a chance to get there. This is about addiction. Yes, Vimini, the website is back up for now. So go there while you still can.
Yeah, for like 2 hours.
Yep. Jesse says maybe longer, maybe like 2 hours and 5 minutes. So, all right. So here it is. This is called addiction. And it says, I have an addiction. I was wondering if you had any advice on how to break it. It's a psychological addiction and physical, but more psychological in my opinion. I know you guys aren't therapists or professionals, but I'd still like your opinion and insight on it. This has been a huge struggle for me for years. I've prayed to God and tried to stop it, but I always end up having a relapse eventually. This is really important. I just wanted to know how you start with making a song. Like I've tried, but it just isn't easy because I don't know where to even begin. I play the guitar also. So there's really, it looks like there's two things in here.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the addiction one, and then there's also some tips on songwriting. So yeah. So thank you, Angel. If you happen to listen to this at some point or watch it,
Yes.
thank you for posting, and sorry for the extreme delay, but we just haven't seen you around. So, we were kind of waiting to see if you come back, and now we're at a point where we're just gonna kind of handle some of these older ones. But anyway, Kyle, did you have anything to start off with on this?
Yeah, addictions are funny things, and you say in here that it's a psychological addiction, more than a physical addiction, and I think I just want to touch on that for a minute, because that's a really good observation that I think a lot of people don't ever notice. That can happen. So there's all kinds of addictions out there, and most of the time when we think of addiction, we're thinking about drugs or something along those lines. But they don't have to be. Some people are addicted to video games. I went to college with a guy who failed every one of his classes because he couldn't step away from his computer game. Some people are addicted to gambling. Another guy in school I know spent all of his tuition money. Somehow he was able to get it back, and then he pulled out a bunch of loans, which he drove an hour away to go to a casino, and then lost all his money there. So he only managed to make it through one semester of school because he ran out of all of his money. There's no physical thing there. It's mostly psychological. But here's the thing: psychological addictions are very real within our brain chemistry, right? So even though that's a physical reaction, psychological addictions actually mimic very closely to the way it affects your brain. Mimics very closely to like heroin. A heroin addiction and a psychological addiction are very similar. So those should be treated almost similarly, not with the necessarily the treatments, but the intensity of resolve and stopping. The reason they're the same is because it's these happy chemicals in our brain that we're releasing, right? And the more you do this, like if you have a very awesome experience doing something where you get a big rush out of it, right? Your brain almost doesn't know how to react because it's too much. And so what happens is our brain says, okay, next time that happens, we're going to tone it down a little bit. And then so you do something more intense. And then your brain says, oh, wow, we got to tone it down even more, until your brain stops functioning at these with sort of your happiness generator, if you will, can almost totally stop functioning unless you're doing that addiction, whatever it might be, whether it's video games or gambling or what have you. And so you could kind of see where that leads down to very bad, over time. And so, dealing with these addictions is important to do, even if they don't seem like a big deal, to deal with them quickly. As soon as you notice that they could be a thing, deal with it. Now, how do we deal with an addiction? I'm really, I think, I don't have a whole lot of experience, I guess, with this kind of thing, but, having, heard several different things on how to, seen several people go through different programs and what have you. I think the main thing is just have the resolve to stop. And every time, if you start thinking about this addiction, whatever it might be, go talk to somebody instead. Go hang out with a friend. I mean, you don't even have to tell them what's going on. Although if you do, they'll be able to help you. But if you don't want to tell them, that's cool too. Just go hang out with them. So because psychological addictions occur solely in here, in our brains, the worst thing we can do is think about the addiction. The more mental energy we spend on it, the more likely we are going to fall back into it. So, if I have a problem with gambling, it would be counterproductive for me to sit around saying, oh, I better not gamble, 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 I better all day long, because I'm teasing myself with it.
Right.
It's out of my mind. I need to find something else to put there instead. Right. And so I guess that would be, find a good passion thing that you can run after that keeps your mind busy, hang out with friends, that, you can have fun, be with them. If you're going to go hang out, hopefully, if you have friends and you go and you hang out with them, you're with them. You're not pretending to be with them. And by that, I mean, just thinking about other things, or maybe playing on your phone instead of talking with them, or whatever, just find somebody that you can talk to and just have a good conversation with them. Anything that you can get your brain off of the actual problem. Again, and then whenever you think about it, if it is gambling, just because that's an easy one to kind of understand, if you ever get that, hey, oh, I want to, maybe I can go, oh, it's just $1, whatever. I can't, that's that just $1 needs to be, nope, okay, let's find something else. And then if you more and more that you go and you reset, find something that can reset your brain into something else. And then the more and more you do that, the less and less likely that the addiction will have control over you. And in most cases, the addiction will never fully leave. It'll always be there. It'll always try to come back. But if you've trained yourself to deal with it in that way, I think that'll help. So, yeah. So what do you think, Joe?
I think that's really smart. And I wished when I was going through addictions, I would have had some of that advice too. I can speak a little bit from experience on this topic, because I've gone through a couple of different addictions. Major one was tobacco, and also there were painkillers in there, and I wouldn't say it was a severe addiction, but at the same time, it was definitely, it definitely had control over my actions. So like, that's the thing about addiction. What it does is it makes you lose control.
Mm-hmm.
You no longer are in control. You're compelled to do something because of this substance or this activity. It's become a habit that then has become a compulsion, where now you're driven to do it kind of outside of your own control. And psychological addiction absolutely is super true. Even with something like smoking cigarettes or any type of a drug, really, the chemical physical addiction is usually gone within about 3 days. And then after that, it's all psychological. And so then it's like everything else, like Kyle was talking about, these are like tracks in your brain that have been built, that like, this is the way for you to get pleasure or to be happy or to have that moment of satisfaction, this, and that's kind of how your brain starts to roll with it. So one thing there were a couple things that really helped me out a lot when it came to addiction. Vimini asks, what is a physical addiction? That's like, well, I can tell you physical addiction is like an addiction to a substance. Like, I can tell you when I was addicted to tobacco, or nicotine, I guess would be the drug. What happens is when you ingest this chemical, right? Whether it's inhaled or absorbed through your skin, or you swallow it, or whatever you do with this chemical, what happens is it creates a chemical imbalance in your system, because now you have this new chemical in your system that your body is like, oh my gosh, now we're all out of balance, and your body's going to seek to balance itself out. So your body then produces other chemicals to counteract the ones that you just put into your body. And it boosts all these other chemicals to kind of balance you out again. And then what happens is the chemical that you ingested goes down, the level goes down over time, but the ones that your body produced are still high. So now you're in another state of imbalance. So you're like, so you start craving the chemical that your body created an antidote for. So, and then so now you're craving that chemical. And so what happens is you need that boost to get yourself back into balance. And so that's what physical addiction is. It's basically a chemical imbalance that just goes back and forth between a foreign chemical and chemicals produced by your body to counteract that foreign chemical. So that's kind of how the science of physical addiction is. Now, with psychological addiction, you really need to start reprogramming yourself. And this is where I learned some things about self-hypnosis and visualization and stuff like that. I had to learn how to visualize my life without cigarettes. I had to learn how to visualize what's my life going to look like when I'm no longer smoking. I'm going to feel better. I'm going to be able to run. I'm going to be able to swim. My life is going to be much cleaner. You know, I just visualized all these types of things. And you can do that with anything. If it's gambling, you can visualize how much extra money you're going to have that you earned because you kept it. You didn't go spend it. So all of the money that's coming in from your income that you're working for, you're going to be keeping it. You're going to be keeping way more of it. And I think one of the key things to visualize is that feeling of freedom from that compulsion, because that was the really big thing that made me want to quit smoking. Was I just was so tired of feeling like I had to do it. I was so tired of feeling out of control. Like, I was like, this has got to stop. So once I got to that point, then I was able to, you know, have that motivation to go through the steps. Now, it's not always easy, and there are going to be times when you may relapse, and you just have to hop right back on the wagon as quickly as possible. You know, that's one of the things. If, you know, you can't ever give up. And you got to understand that you might slip. There's an old saying, like somebody says, I can quit smoking cigarettes anytime. I already quit twice this week. And that was so true. But yeah, so when it comes to addiction, if you can learn how to visualize, and what I would do, start with, is just doing some deep breathing techniques. You just start to breathe deep, you know, take some deep breaths and relax yourself. And then you can go someplace in your mind, you kind of daydream. And it's fun. Daydreaming is great. And did you know that you can control your daydreams? I used to daydream just randomly. I used to just let my mind go wherever it would, and usually ended up in some place that was not all that positive, you know, something maybe harmful. But when I learned that I could control my daydreams, like I can go anywhere I want in my daydream. And then you can get all of your senses involved too. Like you can go there visually. And you can think, what's it going to feel like to be this way? And you can start to actually feel what it feels like. You can start to smell the smells and see the things that are in front of you, and hear the sounds and get all of your senses involved. What's it going to be like, the full experience? And the more times you do that, your subconscious starts to automatically pull you in the direction of that vision that you're creating. If you can create that habit of visualizing yourself free from that addiction, what's your life going to look like when you no longer have to deal with it? And visualize that continuously, your brain is going to start to try to find ways to live up to that vision. And so then all of a sudden it's going to feel like autopilot. I remember when I went through this program with smoking, it was very interesting. It was very, they're like, okay, do some exercise, especially cardio, because that gets blood flowing through your body. You know, it kind of flushes your system out. Drink lots of water and sleep. You know, those three things: exercise, water, and sleep. Do those, and then do this continuous visualization every day. Just visualize, you know, what's your life going to look like. And I'll tell you, when I went through that program, it was 2 weeks later, I felt like I had never, ever been a smoker ever. Like I had forgotten what it was like, because those techniques were so powerful. And I think, you know, for me, the big one was the visualization. Just the totally visualizing my life without that addiction. And then eventually it just becomes your reality. Maxwell Maltz wrote in his book, Psycho-Cybernetics, that the subconscious mind, does not know the difference between a real event or a vividly imagined event. So it could totally not even have really happened, but you vividly imagine it. Your subconscious mind does not know the difference between those two, because it just takes information from your senses. And so that's why they say the more senses you get involved, smell, taste, touch, sight, sound, all of the senses, you get all those involved, and your subconscious just takes it as information and stores it as a memory, and is like, hey, this is a real memory. It had all the senses involved. And then after a while, it just starts to become your life. It's really interesting. And it kind of works that way with everything. Anything you choose. And so I would encourage any of us, even if we're not struggling with an addiction, all of us could use that technique of visualization, of visualizing what we want. Because quite frankly, I know I'm guilty of this. I know most of the time I am visualizing stuff that's going on in the moment, or stuff that's bad, or, you know, stuff that is going to go wrong, and I'm concerned about it. I'm not visualizing the things that I actually want, or the things that I'm looking forward to or trying to accomplish. I'm not visualizing those things. I'm visualizing things that are going on right now, or problems that I need to figure out a solution to. But I'm not visualizing the solution, I'm visualizing the problem. And then I'm super surprised that the problem lasts a long time. But I totally did it myself. So anyway, hopefully that was helpful. I see a lot of people are leaving.
Yeah.
I think it's because I'm talking. Kyle, you should take over because people stay when you talk.
Oh, I don't know about that. I just want to say here, Vimini says, when do you know you're addicted?
That's a good question.
I think that's a fantastic question. So if you could
Um,
talk about that for a minute, that'd be.
I think when the different things that I've been addicted to, there did come a certain point when I knew that I was addicted to it, and it was like, I think it was because I just felt the pull. I felt like I was being drawn toward it. Keaton, when you find yourself without it and you find yourself needing it, that's huge. And I can just remember feeling drawn to do it. And there were a few times that I had quit smoking and I was free from the chemical addiction. Like I quit for a couple weeks or maybe a month or something like that. Maybe I think the longest I went was 9 months or something, and or maybe 6 months, and then one cigarette and I was back. It was like immediately. But but I can remember getting to the point where I felt pulled. I felt the pull from this thing and compelled to do it. And I was like, aha, yep, I'm getting hooked on this. And then I had a choice. Do I continue down this road or do I turn back? Do I turn away from it? And most of the time I chose to continue down the road for a while. That was bad. But thankfully now I'm free from those addictions, which is great. And so now what I try to do, honestly, because these were physical substances, especially with smoking and stuff like that. Now what I try to do is always keep myself on a consistent regimen of strenuous exercise, because I know with the level of activity that I'm at right now with the different martial arts and, so I do Taekwondo, I do Krav Maga, and I also do high intensity interval training and all that kind of stuff. Like if I even tried to smoke anything right now, there's no way I would make it through one portion of a workout anymore, because I mean, it's hard without it. So it's a great deterrent, because I'm like, okay, if I was ever going to do that, if I ever did that again, if I ever started smoking again, I would not be able to do this at all anymore. And I'm really enjoying myself, So.
Yeah. I think, Vimini says here, I feel like it'd be easy to deny that you're addicted. And that's very true. We all like to think we have some amount of control over situations, even when we don't. It's hard to admit that we're out of control. So I think maybe a good test for that, and I think it wouldn't hurt to do this in all areas of our lives all the time. And that is to take a break from things we do on a regular basis, whatever they are. It could be as simple as taking a break from having coffee for the day, or take a break from stopping and grabbing a hamburger somewhere that you usually go to. And when you're without that thing, how in control are you? How much is it occupying your brain that you didn't do that one thing? How much does it, or can you even not? I know sometimes it's like, it, with certain addictions, once you're there, it doesn't matter what you tell yourself, how much logic you throw at it, throw at the
Mhm,
problem. Nothing matters until that addiction is satisfied.
mhm.
And you'll know, I think, when that's happening if you pay attention, because you'll know that no amount of will stop it from occupying your brain. So I think, that would be a good way to kind of do a litmus test. But I think we should all do that in a lot of areas of our lives all the time. It's good for discipline, just to show, and you'll find a lot of things you can give up on a temporary basis really easy, and that's great because you can show yourself, look, I am in control of my. It's a little sort of a tool to help you stay in control of your brain, anyways. And in that, so I know like some people. Well, I mean, for example, I know. This isn't really an addiction thing, but it's a similar kind of a thing. I know, Joe, we had talked a few years ago about how hard it would be, or so you thought, to go a day without eating lunch,
Mhm.
you know, and you just, I mean, that's not really like lunch isn't really an addiction, but it just, similar kind of a thing. But then once you do that and you go a whole day with it, you're like, wow, that wasn't so hard. And then you go a couple of days without eating lunch, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, I have a lot more control over my hunger than I thought. And I think we can do that with a lot of things, even if they're not addictive things. It's a good thing, a good practice to get into, denying yourself your pleasures anyways, because it really gives you more control over yourself and what you do with your life. You can go in and say, um, if I can do this thing, then there's no reason I can't do this other thing that's not what I normally
Right.
do.
Right. And fasting from food is very effective in all areas. Like that's a really interesting thing. Like Kyle, I remember that conversation very clearly. When I said that, like I'm like, I don't think I could ever do that. I really like to eat, and I don't think I could ever not eat. I don't think I could skip lunch, whatever. And then the interesting thing is when I was able to say, okay, I'm just gonna try it. And I'll have food here just in case, but I'm just gonna try it. I'm gonna just see how it goes. And I was very surprised at that it wasn't all that hard. But I'll tell you what, the thing that surprised me more was how effective it was in exactly what Kyle was talking about, the self-control. That self-control that you gain from just skipping a meal. And, you're like, okay, so I fasted for part of a day. I denied myself
Mhm.
something for part of a day. So I have self-control, and that self-control started to find its way into other areas of my life, and other bad habits started to go away.
Mhm.
It was very, very interesting.
Yeah, and I do want to put one word of caution on that though. If you are somebody with, um, let's say anorexic or bulimic or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
or if you're in the middle of severe depression where you feel like hurting yourself, and the denying of food is a way to hurt yourself, that would not be the time to
Right.
do, because what you're doing is a pretend control. You could think, well, if I hurt myself, I'm taking control of the situation by hurting myself. And
Mm-hmm.
that's actually an opposite. You're losing control to the feeling to hurt yourself. So there are times to do it, there are times to not. So, just keep that in mind if you're that,
Right.
you're
And
going through,
also,
but just, but in general, if, anytime you can show your look, I can deny myself this pleasure. It's great. So,
yeah, and I've read some resources on fasting, and this is fasting from food. They also don't recommend people generally under 18 Like, don't do any kind of extended fasting because your body's growing and you need that fuel. Your body needs to have that food.
Right. It doesn't have to be that. It could be watching TV, watching YouTube,
Yes.
whatever.
Gaming, everything. Anything that's a good. I mean, these aren't bad things to do.
Right.
But yeah. But I really like that little piece of advice that you had, Kyle, where it's like, hey, just take an assessment of the kinds of things you do and then just don't do some of it for a while and see how you do.
Mm-hmm.
And then just say, okay, I'm not going to do this for a while. See how you do. Give up Amazon Prime Video for a while. See how you do. Or Netflix.
Yes.
Or YouTube. Or, yeah.
Yep.
Whatever.
And sometimes, well, and I don't want to drag this on too long, but sometimes you'll surprise yourself. I have a friend who gave up video games for several months while they were going through some school stuff. Mm-hmm. And by the end of it, they didn't really even care that they hadn't played video games. They realized how much time they wasted on it.
Mm.
And it was kind of like, wow, I don't really I can get so much more accomplished, without doing that. And that, not that video games are bad, but it's a moderation thing, right? If you're playing, every waking moment, then nothing is being done otherwise. So you might surprise yourself with how happy you can be without the thing that makes you happy right now.
Yes. Detective Spoopy Egg. If I give up YouTube, how will I watch Don't Worry Wednesday? Good call. So I mean that's but that's how much we love you guys.
Honestly, yeah. If you have an addiction to YouTube, then give up Don't Worry Wednesday right now.
Yep. We will not be offended if you leave. You don't even have to tell us you left.
Yep.
We'll see the number change. Actually, probably Jesse will, because he pays attention to that stuff.
Yep. And actually, you could probably catch Don't Worry Wednesday in other formats.
Yeah, as soon as we start reproducing them in those formats again.
I know we've been
Who's
trying.
That guy? Who is that guy who does that?
There was someone was working on podcasts or something
all the time. Yeah, I think his efforts got drawn into other areas for a while. Yeah. Whoever that guy is needs to be fired. Should start a support ticket. Jesse, who was that guy? Find out who it was.
Yeah, Jesse, can you log a support ticket for us? Sorry, that's kind of an inside joke. Jesse.
What? It's down.
Yeah.
Is it really? Let's see. Connected. Oh boy. Didn't even make it 2 hours, man.
Oh man.
Oh wait. No, it's there. Oh my gosh. We got a few. Wow. Who's Purple Husky? We got some new ones from Purple Husky.
Cool. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not sure who Purple Husky is. Perhaps they are anonymous.
Yes.
In the chat. But anyway, so Angel, thank you for posting about addiction. I really appreciate that post, and hopefully some of that was helpful. Hopefully you catch this at some point, and yeah, Purple Husky is Purple Husky.
Yeah. So let's yeah, let's move on here. What do we want to do next here? Well, at least we have February caught up with that. So
Yeah. Yeah, we got February caught up for sure.
okay. Okay.
So we have a couple different options. We can go to we can go to one of the old ones, or we can handle
Let's do, you know what? Let's
Purple
do,
Huskies.
I think let's do Dead from March.
Okay.
And then, because, yeah, that's super old too.
All right. Let's do that one then.
And then we can move on. So, okay, this was on March 6th, it looks like.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm going to paste it in the chat here so you guys can read along. It's really super duper long.
So long. This is the longest ever.
Longest ever from Dead. Dun, dun, dun. Name that movie character. Dun, dun, dun.
Okay. How does Joe still have access?
What has 2 thumbs and still has access to BSS? This guy. It could literally be any character. Yeah, but it's Belt from the Croods. Oh, Jesse was kidding. All right. So, yeah, you can go there. Click on the link and see if it takes you there. I'm going to click on it, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, look, it went there. Jesse's picking on us. All right. Do you want to read this one, Kyle?
Sure.
I mean, it's super long. I know it might be a little bit crazy.
The Dead, Scars and the Past. What happens if I got scarred in the past? Like, what can I do if I got scarred in the past, and how do I move on? There you have it. 6-hour long question.
Yeah, good. Well, I really appreciate the question, Dead. And, you know, what happens if I got scarred in the past and how to move on from that? You know, that's a really, really good question that I think a lot of people have to deal with. And I think all of us, to some degree, have been wounded. I mean, if you've lived on this earth for a while, you've been wounded by somebody. You've been hurt. You've been let down. You've been betrayed or stabbed in the back or picked on or maybe physically assaulted or who knows. But all those things have a tendency to, you know, cause some stuff in our lives. And it's really interesting. You know, I went through this healing program. It was kind of more of a spiritual healing program. It was put out by the John Paul II Healing Institute or Healing Center or whatever. And I went through this program, and it made me kind of dig into some of the past events that turned out to be defining moments for me. You see, what happens is we get wounded by something, we get hurt, and the person who hurts us they might not even really know that they hurt us. They might just have been living their life, and then all of a sudden, you know, we got hurt by something they did. They didn't even know that it happened. Or sometimes they were trying to hurt us and it hurt us. Or sometimes they were just trying to look cool in front of their friends, and you know, we kind of got the short end of the stick. And you know, who knows? Who knows what the actual circumstances, what was going on in their brain? But either way, we got hurt by that event. And I got so I can remember going back and thinking of some of those things. And I'll tell you this, the key, if you're wanting to move on from something that happened in the past, if you're feeling like, you know, I got hurt this way and now it's still affecting my life years later, or you know, somebody did this something to me, and then I put up a wall around my heart, and now I'm not going to allow anybody else to hurt me this way. And so what that does then is that causes a whole other myriad of problems, and it can totally do that. The key to getting out of all that is forgiveness. That's the key that unlocks your prison, because it really starts to feel like a prison after a while. When it's kind of similar to an addiction where you're compelled, you feel compelled to do certain things. Like, and that's the way this can be too. When we get scarred in the past, we get wounded in the past, we build up a wall of protection around ourselves. And what happens is that wall eventually walls us in. And then bad behaviors start to come out of it. And those behaviors turn into habits, and those habits turn into compelling actions, you know, and it's just on and on and on. And it's an ongoing pattern of bad behavior. It can totally manifest itself like that. And the key to getting rid of all of that is forgiveness. I remember going back to those moments, you know, this program I went through, it taught me, there were a bunch of audios and a workbook and stuff like that. And all this stuff, what it taught me is like, okay, so go back and think of some of these moments that happened in your life. And I remember going back to some of those. And some of them were surprising. Some of them were like, I didn't realize that was a defining moment. But then when I went back to it in my mind and I forgave those people and I let go of the situation, I was like, you know what? I understand you're just a person, just like me. You make mistakes just like me. And I forgive you for this. And I'm sorry for holding it against you for this long. And, you know, I didn't go back and physically find this person and tell them I forgave them. It was just all in my head. I forgave them and in my heart. And it was amazing. First, there was kind of this emotional experience. There was this kind of emotional time of a little bit of crying and, you know, stuff like that, because you kind of relive the wound a little bit. But then after I forgave them, there was freedom. And then seemingly unrelated bad behaviors started to just fix themselves. And I was like, what? No way. That's crazy. And it was all because of forgiveness. You know, we've said it on this stream before, and, you know, I hope to be able to say it more and more and more. But forgiveness, that is the real key to any type of healing in your heart. If you've got scars from your past, you've got old wounds that are festering, you want to move on, man, forgive. Go back and find those scars. Figure out who it was that hurt you. Remember those events and forgive those people and those things that did that. And you are on the road to some incredible freedom, my friend, when you start to go through that process. So I've talked long enough for now. Kyle, what do you have?
Yeah, that's fantastic. The only thing I can think to add that is your scars don't determine your value as a person. So I know a lot of times, we could feel like damaged goods, or you hear that phrase, or someone who could just be kicked around a lot, or something like that. Maybe you could feel like you're just someone who people can walk over. And, I just want to say that no amount of bad actions from another person towards you, or bad actions from you towards yourself, can affect your value to the world and in the world. We're all worth something. We're all worth everything. And that sounds like a paradox, but it's not. So don't lose sight of that. If you're feeling like you're worth less or worthless because of something that's happened to you or something you've done, then I think, what Joe said is right. It's all about forgiveness. If you can forgive the other person or forgive yourself, then you don't have to devalue yourself. You are worth every bit of everything. Don't forget that. People have given their lives so that you could be alive today. People have given so much for you. People you don't even know, and people you do know. I'm sure you've got friends or family or somebody who's done quite a bit for you personally. They see the value. So don't forget that you have the value. Don't forget who you are. You are not defined by what somebody does to you. You're defined on who you choose to be. So, yeah. But mostly what Joe said.
Well, and like along the same vein of what Kyle's talking about, you are infinitely valuable regardless. You are unique. There's never been anybody like you before. There never will be anybody like you ever again. And you are infinitely valuable, and you have infinite dignity just because you exist. And you bring something special to the world. I've experienced, incidentally, Dead, I know who you are. I know that's
But do you know what they did last summer?
I don't know what they did last summer. I know what they were doing a few summers ago, though, because they were working with Ryan on a whole bunch of projects. So I know what you're capable of to some degree. And you've got a lot of ability. So if you're hearing this, remember that. And I know the wounds that you're carrying around are painful and they're difficult. But now you've got the key.
Mhm.
So do it. Wow. Look at all this. Now, detective. Let's be nice. I
Wow.
like the sandwich, but let's not use the knife as a weapon. I like you have a sandwich knife named Love, and you make people a nice sandwich with love. I like that. But all the stabby stuff, no. And I know you're just joking. Try harder to hug them. Yes. And you can do the tackle hugs, the virtual tackle hugs. I got virtually tackle hugged one time on Discord. Have you ever been tackle hugged before, Kyle?
Not to my knowledge.
Oh, it's an amazing experience. I've never been tackle hugged in real life, but I've been tackle hugged in chat before. Yep.
It's intense.
It's intense.
But get consent, because if they don't want it, then it's okay. Oh man.
Oh, it's great.
Oh. Wow, we're having a lot of fun in chat today.
Yes, we are. You guys are amazing. I just gotta say, I love you all. And it's great to see you guys. Like
I know.
there are some of you guys that I haven't seen in a long time. Haley and Vimini and Keaton. It's been maybe Keaton. I haven't seen you just because I haven't been here. Joe, I feel like I haven't talked to you in like forever. I know it's only been like a week and a half or something. So anyway, do we want to move to another one?
Yeah, I think we can.
I love you too, Haley. You're awesome. All right. Oh, she's not even talking to me. She's talking to Joe Bohan. I was like, oh, Haley loves me. Oh, but she's not talking to me. That's the thing about having multiple Joes. Makes things tough. I'm changing my name. Oh, thanks, Detective Spoopy Egg. Oh
my gosh, you're right, Jeff.
Jeff is keeping us on track right now. There was the question on the other one. Which one was that? That was the addiction one.
That was the addiction. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
How do you start writing songs?
And
I'm going to turn this over to Kyle. Kyle, how do you start writing songs?
Well, what you do is you take a music theory class and you get like 3/4 of the way through it and you're studying like, the Baroque period. And they're like, make sure you write a song and use all these silly rules and then you do it because they made you. That's the extent of my songwriting experience. It was terrible.
That's very interesting because that was kind of like, I remember going down that path a little bit. when I went to Michigan State, I went to Michigan State for like a semester and a half, and I like that was an interesting time of my life. I was a music composition and theory major. And I was a composition major because I was writing music and I wanted to continue writing music. And then they taught me, they were like, okay, you need to follow all these rules.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wait a minute. These are rules based on the writings of Bach.
Yes.
Right? It's all based on Johann Sebastian Bach. And I'm like, so how did these rules come about? Did he write because he invented these rules and he was like, you know, I'm going to follow all these rules. And then they're like, but sometimes he broke those rules. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, no, I think he just wrote music. And then later on, some people kind of analyzed it or went way deeply analyzing it. And we're like, oh, he follows these rules. And it's like, no, that's just how he wrote, man. That was his style.
Mm-hmm.
That was how he did it. Like we could take the music of Static P and we could deeply analyze it and invent a whole set of rules and say, and then what we'll do is we'll put it in every liberal arts college in the world and say, these are the rules of music composition. We should do that. And you know what'll happen? All your music composition and theory majors will like freak out. Ah! Mozart had a lot of rules too. And I think, but he came later than Bach. I think Mozart followed Bach's rules.
For the most part.
Because he came later.
He came quite a bit. Well, not quite a bit later enough to where the styles had drastically changed between the two of them. Instrumentation was totally different. You know, those kinds of things. I'm wondering about this Mozart thing. Might have been in reference to the previous comment. Is Bach the deaf one?
Oh no, that's Beethoven.
And I was going to say that's Beethoven. So it's neither Bach nor Mozart.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, sorry.
That's no problem.
Mozart cheated and plagiarized. Yeah, they weren't. Yeah, So Bach was like. So they have put things in different musical periods. You know, we've got the generally the earliest music you normally would hear would be Baroque. You know,
except for chant. There was
Gregorian chant and things like that before. But normally, the earliest music you hear in a normal setting would be like a Baroque, and Bach was like on the tail end of that. And then Mozart was sort of like on the beginning-ish of the classical period. And so there was a big shift in where Bach wrote mostly like church music and things like that. And Mozart wrote more outside of church type music. And so he had a lot more freedom to what he was allowed to do. He broke the same rules that Bach broke. He just did it more often because he didn't have to follow the strictness of the churches at the time. So,
gotcha.
Anyways, that's not really the question. The question is, Joe, how do you write a song?
Well, I guess it depends on what part of the song you're talking about. If it's the music part or the lyrics part. Angel says they play guitar.
Mhm.
And I'll tell you what I started to do. This is kind of my introduction to songwriting. And basically, I had always been a percussionist. I learned how to play piano, and then I learned percussion, and that was like my main instrument. And then when I was in high school, I started just kind of playing around with the guitar. But I never considered myself much of a guitarist until, then I just started to really like it, and I started to do it all the time, and then I started getting better at it, and then all of a sudden I'm like buying myself books of, like different songs that I liked, and so I'd learn how to play the chords. I'd learn the different chord progressions and stuff like that, and I'd learn how to play them. And I remember the first time when I think what happened was I was trying to play a song, and I was reading it out of a book, and I was playing it. I was playing the chord progression, and I messed up. I played the wrong chord, and I was like, "Oh, I just screwed that up," but it actually sounded really cool. And so then I just started playing my own chords, and I was like, I'm writing a song. That's all that is. I'm just right. I can do that. And so then I just started taking different chords, and I'd put different chords together, and I'd be like, oh, I'm making a song. And that's kind of how I started writing songs. It started with learning other people's songs in order to learn how to play proficiently. And then from there, I messed up. I had a mistake. And that opened up the crack where I was like, hey, wait a second. I can put different things together. And then I just started, then coming up with melody lines, for like lead vocal parts. That's different. I just kind of sing along, I kind of hum along and hear what comes, I just kind of hum along with it. And then if it sounds like something too familiar, I'm like, okay, I gotta not sing that anymore. But, I don't know. As far that's kind of how I started learning how to write music. That's how Cool High School Music Guitar Album 1 was born. uh, yeah, all that stuff's a great foundation. I think personally piano is about the best foundation. If you really want to learn how to play music and write, I think the piano has been the most effective tool for me. Just knowing a keyboard.
Yeah, I've watched Ryan a little bit, in his writing process, and it does a lot of times seem to start on the piano. Just learning to play, and then once you're proficient enough to just play stuff that pops in your head, or just sort of kind of play randomly in a way, stay in a key at least. Then you can kind of come up with some cool little things, and then so I've seen a lot of his ideas start right there, right on the piano, and then if not that, I've seen him start write whole songs without touching the piano, where he'll do the whole thing on the computer, through MIDI. And so, it's really just, and I think it's practice, just doing it. Just sit down. If you don't have on the guitar, and just start playing random stuff and come up with something and do it. And then when that song's done, cool, start a new one.
Yep.
And eventually,
that's pretty true.
Yeah, eventually you'll start getting somewhere with them. I think, I don't know. I mean, it's hard, because I haven't really done it myself, but I've just watched Ryan, kind of through this process where he started writing music, when he was in, I guess, probably middle school. Started coming up with stuff. And at first it was really, basic, pretty simple stuff. But, you hear his stuff today and it's like, oh my gosh.
I know.
There was a lot of
progression of years of just doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that's probably the key. When you're starting, don't be afraid to write something that you think sounds dumb.
Right.
Or that you think sounds great and somebody else thinks sounds dumb.
Yeah, one of these days, I'd have to talk to Ryan about it first, but we should maybe fish out some of the older stuff off some older hard drives and old computers.
We're totally going to do that. We're going to do it without permission,
and then just kind of put it up there and say, here's one of the beginnings.
Mm-hmm.
One of his first.
Yeah.
There.
It'll be like when Ryan will be like, "I'm offended." I'm like, "Hey, the company owns all this."
And then
you don't like it, then take it up to at the next conference call.
Yeah, and I still remember the first song that he wrote. I know the first two songs actually because they were just so simple, and short. We could he and I could play him. One of them was like a weird duet, and the other one was just him. But I can do that one too. And if I can play it, it's not that hard. No.
That's right. I'm pulling the company card. Hey, BSS owns you. And that's because you own it too. Like it's kind of like a thing. No, I'm sure he would be fine.
Yes, he would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pew pew.
That would be fun to do someday. Because you kind of, it's hard. Sometimes when you're just starting out, you see all this awesome stuff out there. But it really does take a lot of work, a lot of effort, a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
So just stick with it. Just write stuff. It doesn't even matter if it's good.
Yeah.
Eventually, you'll get good. You say you play the guitar the first time you picked it up. I'm sure you weren't, playing a single chord.
Nope. It was awful. It was awful, awful, awful. And yes, like the classic song, I did play until my fingers bled.
Dang.
Because, I had no calluses yet.
Yep.
I played drums until I got blisters on my hands that just popped, and there's just gross and everything. And yeah, happens. I'll spin in my chair and say, "I've been expecting you." Welcome, Neo. I am the architect.
Okay.
But anyway, hopefully that was good. But yeah, if you just start doing it, eventually you'll keep doing it. It'll be good. Yeah. So anyway, we are approaching the 2-hour mark here, Kyle.
We are. I don't know if you want to take one more, or if you want to just banter.
Yeah, I feel like if we started one now, we would either do it an injustice or it would go for way too long. So Man, I got to tell you guys, I'm so impressed with you guys in the chat. It's been so fun to watch your guys' messages scroll past. And
Yeah, great chat today. You know, and also a lot of the stuff that people were on topic, a lot of these things, you know, if you were at all interested in what we were saying, definitely go back and read that chat because um, there were quite a few really awesome additions in there that we didn't read
Mhm.
out loud for you guys. So
Hey, detective says wrinkles are cute. That's awesome because I'm getting a whole bunch of them now. So it happens when you start getting old. Like all you guys are like probably like youngsters and everything, and like here I am as like this old guy. I mean, jeez, I'm like twice as old as Kyle.
uh,
Or at least I was at one point.
yes,
There was a point in time when I was twice as old as you.
22 years ago or something. Wait, yeah, I think.
Quarter life crisis. Yeah. It's funny, like I inspire a lot of people at the martial arts class because I'm out there taking the classes with my kids and stuff, and it's a lot of fun. And then like there's all these parents that like don't want to come out, they're kind of nervous to come out, but then they see me out there and they're like, well, I guess it's okay to try, and it's been kind of fun to finally now like there's a couple more dads out there with their kids.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
yeah, now I get to spar people that are actually like my size.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. A lot of times, as we get older, we tend to think, oh, I'm not young anymore, or I wish I would have started this when I was younger and all this. But really, it's just no, just start now.
Hmm.
If you wish you would have done it younger, just start now. Because you
Yeah.
still can, you know. When and there's been all kinds. If you look, you'll find all kinds of stories of people starting things and accomplishing them way later. Amazing things way later in life than you would have expected. People starting a new business at 70 years old and taking over an industry. You know, people running a marathon for the first time after they're 80 something.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, like it's amazing what people can do when they just decide to do it. So,
Yep. It is pretty amazing. And in fact, I recently finished the book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
mhm.
It's a pretty good book. There was some stuff in there I didn't necessarily agree with, but that's pretty much every book. but there was something in there, and so this was written way back in the early 1900s. So like all this study was done in the late 1800s and the early 1900s, and it was kind of the same then as it is now. And he said most of these success stories that he studied to make this book said they didn't really start their success streak until after they were 40 years old.
Mhm.
It's like between 40 to 60, that's when they kind of finally got started.
Yep.
You know, it's almost like, something happened. They got rid of a whole bunch of weird garbage that was going on in their life. And then all of a sudden, then they were able to start. And they just took off from there.
Mhm.
And they said, it was funny. They said that to me when my first day of Krav Maga a few weeks ago. I was like, I don't really know. I don't know anything. I'm just here. And they're like, well, everybody starts at the beginning, and you start when you start, man. It's okay. Because I was feeling kind of bad, like, man, I wish I'd have been doing this before. Hey, you start where you start. You're going to be fine. And then they proceeded to pound me into the mat. Not literally, but it was hard.
Yes.
But it's always good to challenge yourself, I think.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what you're doing. You guys, every question that's out there, if you can somehow learn how to approach what you're doing and say, how can I do this a little bit better? How can I work a little bit harder? How can I give just a little bit more? How can I try just a little harder? How can I, make this a little bit more efficient? And I'll tell you what, the guy that I am doing this show with tonight, Kyle, I can't tell you how much respect I have for him and his level of finding efficiency in everything. I mean, he can find systems in everything and just find ways to make things run faster and run better. And it's just astounding. I remember he found a way, and I was like, okay, it always takes me so long to process my inspections. He's like, well, what, don't you use macros? I'm like, what's macros? He's like, oh, you don't use macros. And then he showed me this stuff, and I was like, what? Now all this clicking, through this whole big long form, click, 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 click. There's just one click over here, and then, and I was like, oh, dude, you're a genius. He's like, I'm not a genius.
I just don't like doing things over and over again.
Yeah. He finds a better way. You find a better way faster than, man. It's astounding to me.
Well, thank you.
Like, gosh, Joe, you don't even know macros.
Yeah, actually, fun story. Yeah, talking about doing inspections. Joe started doing inspections before I did, at my suggestion.
Yeah.
Somehow I convinced him to do it without doing it myself.
Because I needed something bad, man.
And then I did inspections too for a while, and then that's when I found out, that filling out forms was the absolute worst thing ever.
Yes.
I just don't like paperwork.
Yep.
No, I don't do inspections anymore. No, just Joe.
Just Joe. For now. What I really love is doing BSS. And I'll tell you, it's great when the website works.
Yes. And it will. And so I guess we can end with that. If you guys have anything else, definitely go to the website, check it out.
Mm-hmm.
It will be up for an undetermined amount of time. Jesse, I don't think he has any plans to dismantle it right now. It'll probably be good for a few days on there, but it will have to get taken down again. Sorry this move is taking so long. We've had some interesting complications with our new internet provider. So we're working with them, or rather Jesse's working with them, and hopefully we'll have it more permanent soon.
Yes.
Up until Monday or Tuesday. Okay, cool. We'll go to the next step there. So yeah, you guys have until I guess Monday or Tuesday. Hang out, definitely use it. Do whatever you can. We'll be in contact.
Yes. And come back next Wednesday. See who the surprise guest is.
Yeah. It'll be a surprise.
We will know a few minutes before you know. Yes. And special thanks to Jesse for producing and for doing all this technical stuff, man. You're awesome. Thanks to Princess for running the chat for a while. And special thanks to Kyle for coming and being here, filling in for his brother. Man, it's awesome that you're here. It's fun doing these shows with you. We're going to make you a regular.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
No, these guys aren't here for me. So
I know, but probably the biggest.
Man, that watching you guys do this show is amazing. I'm just, hope I can fill the space. And then, when Ryan gets back, it'll be a breath of fresh air for everybody. And it'll be cool.
Yeah. Ryan's good. He's good at pretty much everything he does.
Absolutely amazing. Mm-hmm. So,
but the biggest special thanks is to all of you guys in the chat and all of you guys, because it's just been so much fun having you here. And come back again on Wednesday. We'll see you next time. Maybe we'll handle one of Akil's. And he'll say no. And we'll say we're going to do it anyway. So awesome. Well, much love, you guys. We will see you next time you come back. And yeah, maybe we'll see you around the website too. So awesome. You guys have a great weekend.
All right.
We'll see you next week, guys.